Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast, where we talk all things Star Wars. My name is Colin.
I think my name's Matt.
Okay, shut up. Okay, well, I guess that's okay. Well, this week we have a special guest. I work with him over at on the planet Batu. This is my friend Josh.
Hey guys, I'm Josh.
Wow, he answered right away. He knows what's going
Yeah,
on.
he's like,
Sorry.
He understands.
We both love where we work, and we also share like the passion for Star Wars, and we're really excited for all the upcoming stuff. And there is actually a decent amount to talk about this week. But first things first, we need to break down that new episode. First thoughts: the speeder bikes. Din was not a fan of the speeder bikes.
Power Rangers.
No, yeah.
And do we want to talk about like the influence behind the speeder bikes? Because there's honestly because I come from like a car guy family, and naturally I venture over to other vehicles, that being like motorcycles. So to understand where this influence comes from, you have to travel overseas, because this is not a something that happened in the United States. This is something that happened over in Asia, and it was really popular in Japan. And what they would do, and I recall, I didn't prepare myself to talk about this, but I know about it. There are like these motorcycle gangs that exist over in Japan, and they're not motorcycles like you would think they are, and they're not exactly like Vespas, but they're more like mopeds, because like they're restricted by Japan. So they would find ways to branch out and customize their vehicles with literally like dozens of mirrors on both sides, just like you saw. So like everything that you see in this Book of Boba Fett episode actually exists in our planet today. So it's interesting to see different influences from around the world put into Star Wars. We see it all the time, but this is one that I wasn't expecting, because it's a very acquired taste. It's not something that people strive for. It's not a Lamborghini. It's definitely not something you see in a poster, but it is something that someone from the production was influenced by in their studies and maybe in their travels, and they influenced themselves by it, and they put it into the show. So I thought that was really cool. But just the fact that they made it look so much like a moped that we would see on planet Earth. It was just, I was like, I feel like this is
so
cool.
So my first two like things that popped in my head when I first saw them was they looked like Vespas, and and then the other thing that popped in my head was like at so there's like different carnivals and stuff like that, and like when bumper like of the paint job that are done on bumper cars and like different kind of vehicles like at carnivals. I thought of that right away. I didn't think of a car. I thought of like, you know, like the paint job of a bumper car. So I thought it was interesting. We will definitely get back into that like of the whole speeder bike stuff and the gang, because there's actually a lot of talk about the gang, because of there's like different influences, like they were inspired by multiple things, like of the whole gang in general. But let's start with the opening of the episode, Matt.
Okay, so at the beginning of chapter 3, the first thing that we're going to see is a briefing that is done by 88, which is the droid that with the skinny face. His name is 88. I don't think we've actually mentioned his name yet, but he's giving a briefing of the situation of what's going on in Mos Espa, and he's basically describing why Boba Fett is meeting such restraint, why there isn't so much support in his name as the new daimyo of Mos Espa. So, and I think one thing to point out is like how the personality of 88 is interesting to me, because when we first met that character back in Return of the Jedi, we didn't know much about him. We just saw his weird old man resembling droid plate face, and it was just interesting to me. So I was drawn to that character instantly because I recognized him from the original trilogy. So that's another cool callback. But what's going on here is that basically he's like, no one respects you. And it's for reasons unknown. Like Bib Fortuna, he had been lining the pockets of the mayor Mak Shaiz for a long time when he was the daimyo. So he's like telling Boba Fett how the other daimyos did it, how he should adapt his approach to becoming a more of a respectful and less feared daimyo. And then that is when they are interrupted by the Watermonger, which is another new character that we have yet to see.
Office Space.
Yeah, that was very
He's,
funny to see him.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, I saw someone do a meme, but the first like thing I thought of was because of it in the movie. He was like, they stole my stapler, and then I saw someone like actually make a meme of him like as a
Nice.
character being like, but yeah. So no, I think we're definitely gonna get more celebrity cameos because of there's also like a very surprising one, which I was like, why? Like coming up, which we'll talk about. But I think that the whole thing about him like saying of the different like crime syndicates like own like of this part of Mos Espa and this part of Mos Espa, we're definitely getting ready for like a war. And I think he's definitely going to try and do what Crimson Dawn did and Darth Maul and Savage did in the Clone Wars, where like all these crime, syndicates weren't together until Darth Maul and Savage brought them together, and then they became Crimson Dawn.
It's pretty interesting to me to see how they were all split apart because of Bib, and then now we get to see like basically
trying to bring them together.
But like even with the whole water, like it's probably been like that for a long time, where this lawlessness has gone for even farther. No one was connected together, so it's cool seeing how much he actually has to bring together for these couple of episodes.
Yeah, so the Watermonger's character's name is Lortha Peel. He's a watermonger in the workers district. And what I found most appealing about this scene is that we get to see even more than we had in the past of just the dynamics of Mos Espa and how it relates all over Tatooine. And Tatooine is kind of like a representation of how the greater whole of the Outer Rim works. So seeing like how the politics of like the Wild West of that is Tatooine works, it's interesting. And I like what you said, Colin, earlier about the fact that we're getting introduced to all these different gangs and parts of Mos Espa that exist, and it's obvious what they're trying to do. They're trying to recognize or get their audience to recognize the different structures of Mos Espa and how Boba Fett has to overcome and earn the respect of them or destroy them. Those are his only two options. He either has to have them join him or he has to find a way to get rid of them, because whatever happens at the end of the season, which is obviously going to be some sort of territory dispute, which is already kind of being unfolding here. But it's just interesting to me to see that Lortha Peel is this man who works in the district, but he's also kind of a little slob himself in the way that he overcharges for basic essential things that people need to live, such as water. And him being a representative of the union of moisture farmers, he speaks for all of them. Yeah, they're unionized, those water vapor farmers. So I just think that it's just another example of the politics that goes unseen inside of Tatooine. It's mostly seen as this lawless place where anything can happen, but it has a structure, and that structure is very fragile and it has a very large ego. And just to see this acting out like this is it's interesting to me. And I'm like, I already didn't like that character, and I love Stephen Root, and I'm like, okay, I love that he showed up, but like I hate that he had to play this character. And I know it's not gonna be the last time you see him. I just know it. We'll see him more. He'll probably be like some kind of snitch for like the mayor, or maybe he'll like help out the twins somehow. But I just think that was an interesting cameo, and not just the actor, but the character himself was interesting for me. How do you guys feel about him?
I would say, well, you just dived really deep into a character that was on screen for like 2
exactly
so.
Exactly. There's so much that is written into this script and the plot, and the people that put this together, they are fans, so they're going to put more effort into it, obviously. But there's so much to read into. I do it a lot more than other people sometimes, because even like in the 2 or 3 minutes that he was on screen, the character development or the potential for the character development of that person is exponentially great. Or it could be just something and I'll never see him again, and I will have wasted the last 2 minutes, you know.
So I kind of think he was a hypocrite because of I think he was like, oh, like I am complaining to you, and now that I've done so, like you are gonna help me out and do my dirty work, and then
But he's the
later,
only one to do it. This is the only
well,
one that we've seen do it.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, but at the same time, like Matt said, like there's a union, so all of them probably voted this guy because they know he's a prick. So
Yeah,
they're
he
like,
did
"Oh,
say when he was mentioning the fact that he represents other moisture
Yeah.
farmers. So
Yeah.
I do agree with you there.
Yeah.
And I think that he is kind of a slob, and like he doesn't like the fact that someone is cheating him out of money when he's usually the one cheating them out of money. I mean,
Right.
1,500 credits for water. Get
So
out.
so here's the moral story of the whole episode: treat people how you want to be treated.
Yeah. I learned that from the watermonger.
Yeah, I will always look back on that day. But no, but Josh, how do you feel about it?
Really liked his introduction. I like how it's this first scene that we actually get to see of someone asking something of Fett on Tatooine. For me, I'm kind of like, I don't know where that was gonna go, because for me, I like the Boba Fett that's more serious, more brash, and just says yes, no, like no to everything, and just straight done. But it's interesting to see how the Tuskens have really changed him. Like he's like, anything to do with bounty hunting, that's not me anymore. I need to make a new self of myself. So, and it's cool seeing this start to play out.
I think it was most interesting that like he mentioned that everything had fell into chaos after Lord Fortuna's death, and I'm like, hold on a second, wasn't like what happened between Bib Fortuna's death and Boba Fett taking over? Like, what is he referencing towards? Are we gonna see that?
Okay.
So I think what happened, which I think we discussed in the last podcast, was on the last episode, which was that when Jabba died and Bib took over, he was still answering to the Hutts, and he was kind of containing the chaos for the Hutts on El Hutta, so they didn't have to come out. But when they found out that Boba killed him, they were like, okay, well, now we have to go and like try and deal with this. And they were, trying to do different subtle things and deal like with Boba, and they just tried telling him to go and leave Tatooine, and then we found out later that that they really just sent a tank. Like Black Chrysanthemum is huge. Like he is stronger than Chewie.
Getting a little ahead of the plot here.
Well, I know.
I completely understand.
Yeah, like it's now, but then he ends up going to Mos Espa, and he ends up talking to the gang, which when they first turned around, the first thing I thought of was Cyberpunk. Like of the way that they have like the robot arms and everything. I was like, oh, okay. I guess we're going in that direction. But
they have the 80s and 90s kind of UK punk like aesthetic. And I was like, I like that.
And they match that with a Japanese mod scooter Vespa vintage. And I'm like, there's so many influences here.
Well, and the other thing with the speeder bikes is that like of just the whole gang in particular, I just don't think they belonged in Tatooine. Like it just felt like a Coruscant vibe or something else, but it just didn't feel like the vibe of Tatooine of just seeing them there, if that makes sense, because of if their speeder bikes were kind of rusty and used, I would be like, okay, but like Coruscant is like, everyone is trying to look like new and good and decent, and even people in the underworld, like in level 1313, like people are trying to look good, and just seeing those speeder bikes and their nice outfits and everything was kind of like, okay,
but that's kind of like the punk aesthetic. It's kind of like you got to stand out as much as you possibly can, and these people wanted to stand out from all the people that are on Tatooine already, which they are
definitely staying out, like standing out. because of their outfits too looked really clean, really nice, like not
Yeah.
dirty at all. And
That's true. I noticed that
yeah,
too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I was just like, okay, like and that's why I was like, I don't know how I feel about like how do you guys
So,
feel about the gang? Because I'm just like, I'm like, okay,
well, if you like pull up this screen I just shared with you, Colin, you can see the influence that I was talking about earlier.
okay,
And I think that it is quite interesting, to say the least, because the first
oh
person that we
yeah,
see, her name is Drash. She's the female that talks back to Boba Fett at first, and I think that like Boba Fett is like interested in her because the fact that she is showing courage, the fact that she's talking to the Dino and she knows who she's talking to, and she still doesn't care because she doesn't respect him, and then he recognizes that, and he said, okay, in order to earn this person's respect, I have to treat them in a way that they haven't been before. So obviously here they've been looked down upon. People think they're criminals, which I mean they kind of are because they do steal and stuff like that, whatever.
well, yeah.
But
They're like,
they're
"Stole this
doing it
guy's
for
water."
their survival. Exactly.
Yeah. Well,
And
I
then the
mean,
guy
well,
that we meet
yeah.
next is his name is Scad. He's the black guy that
Yeah.
that talks next. I think that their two
His whole eye thing
personalities
was,
is his cybernetic eye situation going on, which I'm like, in the world of Star Wars, I've seen cooler eyes. And that one just there's something off about it. Like it doesn't have to be that big, man. Does it? Because like Boba Fett has like, I don't know. I just think that the whole thing is with this. What's it called? What do you call it earlier? The cyberpunks. That's what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's because of
Yeah.
the whole cyberpunk thing was Cyberpunk 2077, which was a game and it flopped. Like, but well, I mean, hey, I'm just being blunt. Like it did. It like honestly did. But that kind of looks like the inspiration for those characters because of they're all half robot. Like of the person like just really just got her arm, like her arm is off and now it's like a robot arm and then it's got like a normal hand. I was like, okay, interesting, interesting design. But going back to the scene because of how Bubba was like, hey, you are, if you don't have a job, you're gonna work for me. And I was like, okay. I was like, kind of saw that coming, but at the same time, I was like, whoa, like, are you that
What is his vetting
desperate?
process? Like, does he even do a background check, or is there like a social security number you got to put in for this? Because he's
Well-
putting a lot of trust in these people, and like he's
I'm
with the
waiting for
Gamorrean
someone to
guard.
really betray him.
Yeah,
Like,
like I thought the
yeah.
guards in episode 2, I thought the Gamorrean guards weren't gonna show up, or episode 1 when they like first like got ambushed. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, starting helping him.
I think it would have. I'm kind of having a prediction. Like it would be crazy if this happens, but like how crazy would it be if Fennec Shand was like she was actually working for like Crimson Dawn, and
That's something very interesting because
Yeah.
you see many points in this where she's been like especially during that dinner scene where he's just like, just enjoy your spoils. Like she gives him so many pointers and he's been rejecting them all the time. So it's interesting to try and see where her views are of this.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if she feels underappreciated at all. I mean, I know she has this whole life debt situation going on, Gungan style with Boba Fett, but
Yeah.
at
How
certain
long can that
point she
last?
has at certain point she has repaid her debt to him. So that's what I feel. But also Fennec Shand is definitely not a person that I would instill trust in, especially given her track record after seeing her in the Bad Batch and her situation with other bounty hunters. And I don't know, she has an exceptional amount of skill, and I know she's not an idiot. So I know that maybe she's just taking advantage of Boba Fett for the time being, and she'll wait for an advantage to
I'm
get the upper hand.
I'm waiting for a plot twist because of honestly, like of just this past episode, it was just like, oh, it was like, okay, because of after that scene, we see Boba take a nap. We have more of like that extended scene of seeing like young Boba Fett look out the window, and it's Daniel Logan, and Daniel Logan is actually really hinting at that he's actually going to make like a young Boba Fett cameo, like which makes sense because of there's that there's a thing where someone who looked like Cad Bane was seen on set of the Book of Boba Fett. So there's always going to be that possibility of the flashback of them having that shootout, and that's what everyone wants because of that deleted scene, like that deleted episode arc. They never made it. But that small thing.
You really love that arc. He talks about it like every episode.
Well, it's so cool because and it's only hinted at in the Bad Batch when we see Cad Bane come back and he's got that patch on his head, and that's definitely from when Boba and them had the shootout. But we haven't seen that like in actual animation or in live action. So I'm thinking, this is where we'll see it, or we might see it in maybe season 2 of the Bad Batch or something like that. Because I think Cad Bane is still out there. I think like Cad Bane is maybe.
What if he's working with Crimson Dawn?
Crimson Dawn, yeah.
Ooh.
Ooh. So I honestly think that we are gonna see a big battle, like a big battle with maybe some of the classic bounty hunters. Like, how cool would it be if like Bosk and Dengar and like some of them, like Warbo was like, here, I'm gonna call in like I'm gonna call in the cavalry, and then they show up, and then it's like, all right, cool, and then we see a big battle on Mos Espa of just all the crime families and stuff going on, and like Boba actually, and in the trailer we actually see Boba sit down with some of the crime syndicates like the Trandoshians and all of them, and then in the trailer they're like, why shouldn't we kill you right now? And then Boba does his line from the trailer. But I think that we will get more flashbacks that will be maybe closer to when besides Camino, where maybe it's kind of where we see Daniel Logan, so at that point where he's like kind of older or whatever, because of there's so much opportunity for that, because of Daniel Logan's at the perfect age where he can definitely do stuff for for teenage Boba Fett, and like kind of like not older like where he is like now, but where he was like still growing up. But in that dream, but when we're doing the flashbacks, we kind of see a tie-in to the Mandalorian as well, because he goes to Mos Eisley so he can talk to the Pikes. And
you know what bounty hunter I really want to see?
What?
I mean, I know you keep bringing up Cad Bane, and I love Cad Bane, but I think an underappreciated bounty hunter that I've always wanted to see is Lot's Razi. Do you remember who that is? She was seen in the Clone Wars. She was like one of those bounty hunters in that one episode where they were like protecting that train, and she has like the green like rope looking things that she can kick people's butts with. She's like purple.
Oh.
She was always like one of my favorite bounty hunters, and she worked with Dengar, and she has worked with Bosk, and she worked with Boba Fett when he was a child. She was a part of his group for a while. So,
I want Embo, bro. I want Embo. Like
okay, I can see that too.
Do you know who I'm talking about, Josh?
No.
Okay, so in the Clone Wars, he was the guy that had like the hat that was like a shield, and like he
he's like can snowboard on it.
Yeah,
he was such a badass, bro.
That dude was
like nobody would understand him. He would always have like some type of guard dog with him, and then just go into battle and like have a crossbow and like just do like different combat moves, and then like throw a shield and then like put it back on his head, and then he would be like, all right,
yeah, it's kind of like a Captain America equivalent of a hat. like his shield, but it's a hat instead of a shield. It has the same like physical qualities, and according to physics it just doesn't apply.
Well, that and you can't put that into Star Wars, like hey, like where's gravity, why is there sound, like
right,
like so
yeah, you can't put logic into Star Wars. It just crackles before your eyes.
But yeah, I think how did
Embo's
you like the tie-in?
Which one?
From the tie-in to the Mandalorian, because of when he's actually going into Mos Eisley, like you see him like look over and they're putting the stormtrooper
the helmets on the spikes
from and then shortly after Mando shows up, and that's like episode 5. So it's like, oh, okay, and then you actually see the character with the 3 pit droids like kind of walk in the background. So the series, that it's kind of close.
Do we know when the flashbacks take place?
So
Pelimoto.
so
between the difference between the Mandalorian
Right.
season 2.
Well,
The
that we
timeline.
don't know, but we also have to know that it's close because they are putting the stormtrooper helmets like on the spikes. Like it like has to be close to the Mandalorian timeline in the flashback.
Okay.
But we don't know exactly. Like it's not like boom, timestamp. This is happening 30 minutes like before Mando.
Not like that. I mean, like, what happens if it was like years? Like,
oh well, I mean,
because I wondered if he had been there for a while.
Yeah.
Well, Book of Boba Fett takes place 9 years after the Battle of Yavin. So the flashback, because it happened, because it's happy. Obviously, it happened after Return of the Jedi. But how many?
That'd be like 5 years. No.
Then. Well, yeah. So Matt.
Which are we talking about the flashbacks right now?
No, we are talking about the actual timeline. It like of before he goes in the flashbacks is happening directly after season 2 of The Mandalorian. But the flashbacks begin from the flashbacks begin from like the Return of the Jedi, like right. There he wakes up and he's escaping. But then everything else to where he's going into Mos Eisley, most likely the like next scene that will happen, because afterwards, Boba talks to the Pikes, and then the Pikes are like, well, we already made a deal with the gang before, and then he goes back, and then the whole camp is destroyed, and all the Tuskens that that helped him survive and become like better, were killed, like horribly. Except if you notice, we did not see the one Tusken's
the female Tusken warrior girl. Yeah.
Nope, we did not see
isn't there.
And if they make it obvious that a body isn't there, that means that body's alive. That's just how it works in the cinematic world.
Yeah.
Do you guys think that Pelimoto is gonna be in Book of Boba Fett at all? Because we did like see her technically. I mean, she isn't technically in the flashback. Do you know what I'm talking about? She's the girl who owns the hangar with the curly brown hair from Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Or do you think that was just a reference?
I think it was just a cute little, a fun little Easter egg just to drop in.
I mean,
and because you also know where they are now. Like,
I don't know how I was indifferent about that character. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't into it, but I don't know.
I think the next flashback scene will be Boba trying to, he's gonna, try and hunt the gang down or whatever. But then the whole events of the Mandalorian might happen, and he might see, Fennec gets shot, and then you'll see him actually, do the scene that we saw at the end of episode 5 in season 1 of Mandalorian, where you see that figure walk up to Fennec. We'll actually see him save Fennec. I think that's the next scene that we'll probably see.
And did you see how when he goes to go and talk to the Pike captain, it's got a different symbol instead? Yeah, like a different crest instead of the normal Pike crest. Yeah, I was interested in that one. And then I saw a lot of people saying online that it would be it looks like a Pike crest and a Crimson Dawn crest fused together.
I'm telling you, man. I've been saying it from the very beginning. The Crimson Dawn is going to show up. Because of there's that scene in the in season 7 of the Clone Wars where the Pikes are just afraid of Crimson Dawn and they're afraid of Maul and all that stuff. And I don't think that connection just went away. I think after Darth Maul went crazy and fought Obi-Wan in the desert, I think I think Kira took over and and she just got over her love for Han and and just was you know what, I'm a villain, I'm gonna embrace it, and she just became a crime boss.
Amelia Clark, a villain?
Yeah.
Oh crap!
Wow.
Last time I saw that a city burned to the ground.
Yeah. Oh, that will be a comparison if she actually shows up, because if they have that big battle in Mos Espa, I could see a meme being every single time Amelia Clark shows up in a show, and then when you compare the city in Game of Thrones to Mos Espa on fire or something like that.
I can see the gifs now.
Yeah, but I think that's going to be the next flashback scene is Boba seeing Mando going after Fennec Shand and like saving her and stuff like that. And then maybe we actually see like, you know, like from Boba's perspective of Boba, you know, in the whole fight with Fennec or whatever. And I'm hoping that like when that happens, you know, and he saves her, she's like, oh, like I like haven't seen you since after the Clone Wars, and then you like, you know, maybe they find out they have like a history or something, and then we later see that like in season 2 of the Bad Batch, and so then we can have that scene of, you know, if we don't see live action, then we actually see it of like of it happen in
we can also briefly touch while we're in the topic of the flashback, the final scene of him paying his respects to the Tusken Raiders that, you know, kind of guided him, and the way that he put the Gaddafi sticks on the, is that how you pronounce that? Got it?
You mean the gaffy sticks?
No, there's a Gaffy stick, but then there's the one stick that the chief holds, and that one's called a Gaddafi. It's
Don't
got a
ask
different
the
name.
person
It's
that
got a
started to
different name.
pronounce that.
It's got a different name, but it's kind of like a Gaffy stick, but it holds more meaning. But I really wanted to pay attention to the composition that our boy Ludwig Göransson made for this episode. Because as a musician, I was like totally like taken back for a second, and I wasn't even really focusing on what was happening on screen, just because I was paying attention to what the soundtrack was in the background, and I just wanted to, you know, give a whole shout out to my boy Ludwig real quick, because that was was beautiful. And I love the fact that he made it so beautiful so that the next scene would scare the living shit out of you, because it does.
Yeah, because of, I thought that whole thing was like him maybe in a trance or a dream.
I had a dream, and then they're like, it's not a dream.
No, because of the fight just kept going, because he wakes up like how, like I would probably have a heart attack of just waking up and being like, oh my God, and the Wookiee just grabbing you and just trying to kill you and beat the crap out of you. Like, I mean, no joke, I'm surprised that Boba survived any of that crap. Like,
how did he get up, go to his living room with his robe on, completely fine?
Yeah, no, we will definitely talk about that later, because to me that was not Boba Fett. Like, I was like, bro, he would have.
You putting a robe on?
Dude,
he's like, oh,
he like walked in that room after that entire fight and was just like, hey, is everything okay? And he's wearing his robe, and I'm like, dude.
But he also ran in there like he was expecting He was expecting there to be more conflict when he ran in there. So why would you run in with no weapon? He didn't bring his gaffy stick. I was like, what are you doing?
No.
Do we know why he's been using the back to tank so much?
Yes, because of so when he was in the Sarlacc, his like skin like got
it felt like he like in the Mandalorian side, it felt like he was still doing more than we've seen him do in this show.
Like physically?
Yes, definitely.
Well, and I don't really know. There's a lot of unanswered questions, but there's like the theory that, I mean, he obviously took a very physical toll, having been partially slowly digested inside of a Sarlacc.
Of course.
And he's obviously getting old, and he's a clone, so it's not definitive how long his life span could or possibly be. But I think the fact that he's recovering from a major trauma that is the Sarlacc pit, which is obviously more than we thought it would take the toll on him, because we're like, oh, why is he in a back to tank after how many years has it been since he was in a back to tank? Like, what is he still doing in one? And I think he does that not only to regain some of the health that he had before, but I think he's using it as a way to either extend what other lifespan he has, or maybe make himself stronger than he possibly was before. I don't know the science behind Bacta. I couldn't tell you. Maybe if I went on a couple rounds to, like, I don't know, like around the world a couple times, I could figure it out. But I don't know.
Well, and he keeps because of, I know that he's getting older, but dude, he cannot hold himself in a fight. Like, every time that he fights someone, he ends up, getting beat up like the crap out of, like. And something else about, all right, so Black Chrysanthemum honestly is this tank, right? And no joke, he should have killed at least one of the gang members. Like these, like, you know, this whole street gang is like, you know, kids, and they all survived. Like I was expecting for one of them like to at least die.
They're all cyberly genetic modified.
Whoa,
teams,
whoa, yeah.
She's got a regular hand, arm. Don't.
I mean, so is Black Chrysanthemum. So.
Yeah, he's all meat.
Yeah, no. His knuckles are electrified.
Yes.
Yeah, he's got some out of
that. Honestly, should have knocked Boba out. That didn't knock Boba out. He just got back up. No joke. His thing had spikes on it, and it didn't even make a mark on him. And I was like, bro, like I get it's Disney Plus, but I'm like, if you're bringing in a tank like this, man, like you gotta go full out. Like he like bit Boba, like he fought Obi-Wan in the comics, and that's where his scar is from Obi-Wan, because Obi-Wan was defending Uncle Owen, because it's a whole, you know, it's a whole thing. But he fought against Obi-Wan, so it's just like,
it's kind of like where we have to kind of pick and choose what we get. It's kind of like, this is EU stuff, and then this is what we actually get to see on screen. They're not going to always pick out from that EU stuff, even though we know it and we love it. It's kind of like, we got to be able to show it on screen and make it like decent enough for Disney Plus viewers.
Can we have Disney Plus 21?
Yes, I would love it.
There's a lot of things we could do with this project that I would love for to happen. So yes, but we all agree that Boba Fett got his booty handed to him, and that he can't hold his own, which makes me think, you know, if, you know, not that this could happen, but if Fennec were to ever decide to betray him,
she took way too long to show up too.
And then when she did show up, she didn't do anything but push a button and then throw something at him.
She was the last one to show up. What? She was the last one to show up, and I was like, girl, where were you?
The Gamorrean guards got there and went up the stairs. They got there before you did.
Well, and this is where I think the plot twist is coming in. I'm like, well, maybe she just opened the front door and he walked in. Like, I don't know why, but I got a feeling that there's going to be a plot twist where then people are going to be like, oh, didn't see that coming. Like, there it is. Like, I mean, because of in this episode, it just felt like there were some things like missing, and like, you know, especially with some of the upcoming scenes that we're going to talk about. But I think there's like a plot twist with Fennec Shand that we're just not going to see coming, and we'll be like, wait, what? Because I can totally see Crimson Dawn of just, you know, being like, hey, listen, you know, you will be our inside person on this, and then when the time comes, she'll be like, all right, I'm sorry, you know, thank you for saving my life, but this is it. And then it's gonna be like, oh, so
I mean, I do think that, I mean, there was this one thing that I noticed and then we could talk about it more later when we get to it, because it hasn't happened yet in the plot line. But when Boba Fett eventually lets Chrysanthemum go, look that he gives, not only Boba Fett, but that you got to pay attention. He looks at Boba Fett, and then he makes a very large, open-eyed look at Fennec Shand, and then back at Boba Fett, and then runs off. And I'm wondering if that was because of a situation or some kind of agreement that's going on behind closed doors with Fennec and Chrysanthemum, or if there's something that she knows that he doesn't. There's something there, because Chrysanthemum gave a very distinct look to Fennec, and it wasn't one of, holy shit, you're letting me go.
Do you think that
when you
he was holding back because of that? You think like he was like Chrysanthemum was holding back because Fennec said to do that, so that Fennec can kind of push Boba to be more serious?
I don't know, because Chrysanthemum made the exclusive decision to change the location of the fight midway, and he went out and he chose to take out the Gamorrean guards, go down the stairs, and he chose to go to the throne room, and he chose to stand exactly where that tiny ass trap door is. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Because of that's something else is that I hope they're not overusing that, because of
they've already used it twice.
They've already used it twice. They've already used it twice, and there was no.
Well, technically 3 times if you want to talk about our little present that we're about to get to in a second.
Oh well, yeah. But so they end up going outside, and
first we got to talk about their cool little banquet real quick. They got to enjoy their spoils. What do you guys think about that little scene? Was you guys see anything in there that we needed to discuss?
I wished, like, which we make this joke all the time, but I wish that we saw some real porgs out there. Like, I mean, that needs to be a
Roasted pork.
thing. Yeah.
Roasted pork would be pretty
Yeah.
funny.
I like
Oh, yeah. Oh,
the what was it? Yeah, the R5 astromech that was serving food, and he had that tray, and it's a very similar to a tray that you see for sale at Galaxy's Edge, and I was like, is that like product placement?
Well, I mean, and again, like, you know, of those subtle hints, it's just like, I think Hondo will show up, because if Hondo and Boba do have history, and Hondo and Jango had history, so I was like, this would be the perfect time to incorporate that, and Jim Cummings is always down to play Hondo, like he loves that character.
For sure.
My wife hates Hondo, like she hates Hondo with a passion. But,
she hates his accent. She hates everything about him.
Well, no.
Can't unhear
like,
Winnie the Pooh. Understandable.
Yeah, she doesn't like him because of, you know, it's the way that he is. Like he's a pirate, you know, all he is about the profit, and then he tries to be good, but then he's like, nah, I'm just deceiving you. I just want the money.
He's
So
like just the Star Wars version of Jack Sparrow, and everyone knows it.
Yeah.
And everyone's okay with it.
mean, well, yeah, no, I think Hondo would be interesting, like kind of like add into the problems that Boba is having now, because of Hondo is always looking for a good deal. He's always looking for a good like opportunity to make money. So, you know, I could see him being like, listen, I hear you need some help, and then, you know, he's like,
So would
if
you be comfortable
you know,
with like a being like a cameo side, or would you like an episode focus with him? Like
I
a
would be
mission from
okay.
Hondo to help.
I would be okay with the cameo side if they did a full episode where like he was involved. I would be very, very surprised. But at the same time, I'm just like, that would be a good way to, you know, kind of have him in there, because then people will be like, well, you know, I can go see him at Galaxy's Edge, and, you know, that might get more people in. So that is like a good transition, because of in that first episode of the Book of Boba Fett, we saw a RX unit there, and he was dealing sabak, and I'm like, boom, like those are like elements like from Galaxy's Edge right there. That and then the thing that you talked about, Matt, I'm like, there's more Easter eggs, and it's probably going to lead up to it, just like how I was talking about all these years about Max Rebo like showing up, because they were doing so Easter eggs like everything. which we actually do see Max Rebo in this episode, and when we get to it, I'll tell you where he is, because not everyone knows this. But anyway, continue.
That
It's
character
the concept art.
I don't understand.
Darn it, you stole it, Josh. Come on, man.
He like specifically didn't want to talk about it yet, so he could save it, and then you just threw it.
Just the concept art. That's it.
But yeah, so then we, you know, get to them being like, all right, here's the twins. They like show up, and they're just like, hey, sorry for trying to kill you, which I totally think this was just like a move on the chessboard of being like, you know, hey, we are sorry for trying to kill you. You can keep the Wookiee. Here's a gift. We are gonna leave.
It was kind of
then
weird.
Like, because of, I think what's gonna happen is like when all the conflict is happening, like of with the Pikes and everything, is that's when the Hutts will try and sweep in and be like, and then they'll like, you know, outflank Boba and like try and take him out like by surprise or something.
Yeah,
because I don't think the Pikes are.
Mm-hmm.
I really just don't think the Hutts would just be like, you know what, we're done. Like, here's Tatooine, you can have it. Like, there is nothing that we want on this rock, is pretty much what they said. And then they're like, here's a mighty gift. And then there's a cameo, which no one was expecting.
Danny Trejo, like, baby.
Yeah. I was like, what? I was like, oh,
was
okay.
great.
Yeah. You know, I wrote a essay when I was in high school for my Spanish class, and we had to choose a Spanish speaking or Spanish descendant actor, and I chose Danny Trejo. This was I was a sophomore in high school. I wrote a 2-page essay on Danny Trejo, and I learned a lot about that man, and I have a lot of respect for that man, because he's got kind of this underdog story about him, and the fact that he is now a canon character, which doesn't have a name yet. As a Rancor, trainer or whatever you want to call him, or he's a Rancor keeper, not a trainer. Well, he does train them, but whatever. I just think that that's awesome because I love Danny Trejo and I love Machete and I think that he is a character that I will love to see more of, and we will see more of because obviously Boba Fett took this amazing liking to the Rancor,
yeah,
and I love it, and I know.
And this is actually something that we talked about months ago when they actually I said that, hey, we're doing the Book of Boba Fett, and it was that there was a rumor that Boba was going to ride a Rancor into Acidia on Tatooine, and when
I can already see the merchandise
in this episode where he was like, oh, hey, I want to ride it. I was like, we were right. I was like, we were so right. So I was like, that's awesome. Because I think that's going to look sick. Like, because of we also kind of get a callback to the Clone Wars where the trainer is talking about Dathomir, like of when Boba goes to the
Night Sisters.
And he's talking to the trainer and about the Rancor and stuff. I think it was really great because we did get that call to Dathomir, which was actually the first live action reference to Dathomir, which is really cool. But it also was a callback to the game The Force Unleashed, because of when Star Killer goes to the planet Felucia, he fights someone, that is riding a Rancor, and I was like, oh, that's a cool callback. So I can't wait to see Boba like riding a Rancor. I think we will see things that we've always wanted to see, but we never thought that we would ever see them. And the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett is like the perfect place to do that, because it's like it's in Star Wars, but it's its own thing. And then it's going to be cool to see, everything that we always wanted. Like, I mean, for example, when the director, like, who made it was episode 6, and it was episode 6 of The Mandalorian season 2. He ended up coming up with the whole battle where like Boba and Fennec and the Mandalorian were like fighting all the stormtroopers. He did that with action figures. Like he planned out the whole fight and he choreographed the whole fight where like his sons like had action figures and stuff, and they filmed that in his backyard or something like that. But I think what's great is that we are seeing things that we did as kids, where like I definitely bet there were kids that had action figures and they had a Rancor, put like Boba Fett on top of it. And I'm like, you are just making our dreams like come to life as kids, because I like definitely have done some things as a kid with action figures, and I saw The Mandalorian or something. I was like, yes, like finally. So I think it's going to be great to see more like of what the Book of Boba Fett has to offer, because you are definitely going to see some more obscure stuff, and definitely going to see a lot more fan service, because of the whole thing that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau and everyone on the project said was, we are going to over deliver on this. And I think we are definitely going to see more stuff. And I think this episode was just more of like, to continue the plot. But after, they get done, talking to the trainer and the Rancor and everything, they end up, going to Mos Espa to go see the mayor.
Did you actually enjoy hearing more about the Rancor? Like,
yes,
like how it, like, I was like, emotions of a Rancor,
the imprinting of the one. I thought that was interesting. I was like, okay, how long? Because you remember, we in the Bad Batch, we remember seeing Moochie. And I'm like, okay, Moochie did not have blinders on, so Moochie has imprinted on someone, and obviously they're rescuing Moochie and bringing him back to what was their client's name? Who was hiring to get Moochie?
It was Bib Fortuna.
Was it Bib?
Yeah. Okay,
I couldn't remember. So yeah. Where do you think Moochie is then? Because obviously Bib had.
We actually don't know the name of the Rancor. As far as I know, I don't think we heard the name of the Rancor, right?
But there's no way that Rancor could be Moochie, because Moochie had already.
Anything can happen. Anything can happen.
Isn't Moochie a girl?
No.
Is
Yes.
it a boy?
Yeah.
Moochie's a girl, and this one is a boy.
That's
okay. Because of
anything can happen.
Because of. When the episode of hey, life finds a way, it happened in Jurassic Park.
Don't you bring up the changing of the sex of the frogs right now? That's saying. Not the situation that is going on. This is not Jurassic Park.
But
Sorry,
when
I
that
got really
episode, when
passionate.
the episode of the Bad Batch came out, I remember it was a huge debate, and it was actually with like not just our podcast, but a bunch of other people. But on our podcast, it was me and Sam like just like yelling at each other because he was like, "Wow, it's the Rancor from Return of the Jedi," and I'm like, "No, it's not."
It's not
Like,
him.
no, it's not, pal. And he's like, "Yes, it is." And we just had a whole debate in the podcast, and then he finally admitted that he was wrong. I was like, "Yeah," but
Just follow the
but
breadcrumbs.
what?
I said just follow
Oh,
the
yeah.
breadcrumbs. It's obvious that it's not him, Sam. What the
Yeah,
heck?
I know. I know, but I think
So
he was
Sam, I know you're
so-
listening to this. You're wrong.
I think he was so determined, but I loved that we got more insight on the Rancor because of now we kind of understand of
Why
why
the last
trainer.
Rancor? Yeah, train.
Yeah.
Or why that
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
cried so
Crying.
hard
Yeah,
when it
well,
died.
Yeah.
I get it, man. Like I mean, like
It's your big space doggy, and
yeah,
Right.
and you
that just happens to be able to pick up people and just.
But we
eat
never
them
got
whole.
to
Like, it's
see.
just-
We only saw the terrorizing, disgusting version of a Rancor. We never saw the sweet, cuddly, like soft-spotted,
Yeah.
imprinting, beautiful beast that is a Rancor. And what does this thing have a name yet? I don't think it has a name.
not
No,
yet.
it doesn't. I'm not sure if you guys play this, but when the Star Wars Connect came out, there was a game mode on there where you could be a Rancor. It came out for Xbox 360, and you could be a Rancor. Yeah, and you could actually like walk into like Naboo and Tatooine.
I know what you're talking
You
about.
could just pick up people and
Yeah, the
eat 'em,
Connect
like,
one.
throw 'em.
Yeah.
yeah.
The one that you're like
so-
this. Yeah,
right,
yeah, I
right.
know
Oh
that
yeah,
one.
of where you can run.
Like
and stuff.
you're like
I want to see that. I want to
A
see
Rancor
that like
running at full speed.
like in one of these.
Isn't that on
episodes.
Tatooine as well? Yeah, it is.
Yes,
Yeah, that would be
yes, yeah.
hilarious to see the
Yeah.
exact same thing from the
Because
Connect.
Is it most
because of-
isolate because there's the down ship that's crashed
Yeah.
that you run by?
That was so.
Yeah.
So it was like Tatooine, it was Naboo, and I think it was one other planet where you could do the whole Rancor thing. Man,
Mhm.
I
Was
still
it
have that.
Kashyyyk?
Rancor Rampage or something like
Yes.
that? Yes.
Yes.
I remember that.
Oh man, bro. Yeah.
You bring it back
No,
memories, my dude.
Yeah. So I can't wait because like I said, we are gonna see things that that we definitely had action figures and we messed around with, and now we're gonna see it in live action.
Now, the one line that I did like from Boba was him saying that he's ridden things 4 times like bigger. Like,
Yes.
is that a
yes.
reference to this like the Christmas special? Like
I know
of
what
him?
you're talking about. Yeah.
I think
We
that
posted
might
it on
be-
our
I think that
Instagram.
might
Was
be.
it, or did
I
our
have
Facebook.
I've definitely seen other people like say that
Or a
that
mythosaur.
that's what he's referencing, but I'm just like, we don't know that he's we don't know that, like, it could be a possible reference, but that's not why you cannot just say that is exactly what he's talking about. How do you know? Like how? Like no.
I know.
It-
It's
the
it's
Force
like that's
guides
what
you.
what
Yeah,
we
yeah.
know for now.
Yeah, I think it could be like a reference, and I wasn't just
Mhm.
talking about you. I'm talking about like I'm talking about Star Wars theory, and a couple other people were saying like, oh hey, like it's a reference to the like they were saying it is, and I was like, we don't know, it's just a theory. It was like yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, what,
it's
like-
an awesome theory.
Oh,
and
yeah, no,
it
no,
wouldn't
do-
be
do-
something that's completely
Yeah.
out of place for them.
But honestly, the like first thing that popped in my head, I don't know why, which it should have been the holiday special, but the thing
Yeah,
that popped
the
in my
thing-
head was it was the it was a
you can
crate
pull it up
dragon.
right here on the
yeah.
screen share.
Yeah, I'll pull it up here. Which the people
Such an interesting. It's like
Look,
yeah,
it's like a dinosaur
pink
camel.
dinosaur.
Like
yeah. Which again, this is actually what the Mandalorian was inspired by, like his
The
rifle
gun
and everything. Yeah, is
you can
inspired
see
by
it
the
on his
holiday
back right
special.
there.
So as much as people don't like the holiday special, if we never got it, we probably would have never we would have never gotten the Mandalorian. We probably would have never got the Book of Boba Fett. So if you don't like the holiday special,
That guy. There he is.
yeah.
So
Yep. Go watch
Yeah.
it. Look at that. Look at the color coordination on Boba Fett. Like, look at all the monotones and everything.
Yeah, and it's funny because of that was like the first appearance of Boba Fett. Like it was like the appearance. So that cartoon actually is on Disney Plus. It's the story behind it was pretty good. But the animation is from 1978. So it's just like, oh, okay. But
not canon but we're gonna pick and choose all of our stuff that we like, and then we're gonna add that to
Yes,
canon.
because technically Life Day is canon, and you know
Yes.
that because at the parks they're still selling Life
I
Day.
know. I almost
merch.
bought a Life Day shirt. They were so cool. Oh,
You can
they
actually
had like
buy a Life Day orb too. Like
Life
like
Day
Cloud
orbs.
City.
yeah.
They had Camino on there. Not Camino. Kashyyyk was one of
Yeah.
them. They had all kinds of cool T-shirts, and I was like, wow,
I think
Life
on
Day is canon.
I think a Life Day in particular,
And it was referenced in Mandalorian.
right.
Twas-
And
twas.
but I think at Galaxy's Edge, like I think on actual Life Day, like on November 17th, I think they should have Chewie actually wear like the actual
The
red
the
robes.
robes.
Yeah, because
walk around with the glowing orb.
yeah,
Maybe they can get like a
'cause,
couple
people
like
would be so
baby-
confused if they haven't seen the holiday special. They were like, "Wow, it must be really cold out right now." That he has to go.
But it would have been
wear
interesting
this
if they get to
robe.
like decorate the whole place like it's Life Day.
Yes. There's
Please
so
bring
many
that in.
untapped sources here. Or like I like the like Sam was like, I think that like for like a month of the year they should make like Galaxy's Edge like Imperial. And I'm like, that would mess with the canon of the park, but I could definitely see the appeal of why that would be such a good idea. I mean, just imagine if Galaxy's Edge went Imperial for like or like, you know, that era instead of like New Resistance. I think that would be cool. To have some classic stormtroopers wandering through, and we could see like I don't know, like Admiral Tarkin walking around. I don't know. I
Star
think
Wars
that'd be cool.
weekends.
Yeah,
Coming back
for sure.
Yeah, I loved Star Wars weekends though. That was always because of I went when like season 5 of the Clone Wars was coming out, and like I didn't like our family didn't know it was Star Wars weekends. We just happened to go on that weekend. I'm like, Mom, we have to go, and she was like, okay. And I just remember of just seeing of Jango Fett walking around, and I was like, this is Disney. Like, what the heck? And then they had like a Clone Wars panel, and Tom Kane was there, and Ashley Eckstein, and I was like, oh, like this is sick.
Did all that, and you had no idea what was happening. What a fortunate situation you were.
Oh,
in.
it worked out great. But
I'm jelly,
going back to the episode, so we see them and ending up going to the
major
city hall.
domo.
Yeah. And they go to see the mayor, and that slimy Twilight is just like, oh, you won't be able to talk to him for 20 days, and maybe I can view it, whatever. Like, yeah, I was gonna say that was oddly specific. Like I was like, oh, okay, what's happening in 20 days? And then it's like, oh, it's because of the Pikes, and he's things are happening. But I like he then slips out the back, and the speeder bike gang, goes after him, and we have the speeder bike chase. And I think it could have been done better. I think it was slow. And I think, gosh, and I think when like we talked about the episode, I think we did talk about how like it was slow. If it was going at the pace like it did in the movie Solo,
yes,
I think that would have been
That's
great.
exactly
already
what I
been
was thinking
spoiled
too.
already with what we've seen in Solo, and then
we know what you can do, and you gave
Yeah.
us that.
Yeah.
So,
but it gave me like fun Spy Kids vibes. And
yes,
that's what we're trying to get. And it's
I know.
Oh yes, also yeah, I mean like it's very slow when he comes out. It's also Back to the Future's like when he crashes and gets them all dumped on him.
He's like,
and he gets covered in Jogan fruit.
Yeah, I thought that was really fun.
Except for it's Jogan fruit. We all know Jogan fruit, right?
Well, actually, that fruit is a reference to Star Wars Rebels, which is the Melurons. Were the fruits that fell on top of them, which there's a whole episode about them and the first season of Star Wars Rebels. But I thought it was okay. I think it could have been done a tiny bit. I mean, again, I'm not behind the seat.
I mean, then again, they are chasing with space Vespas, so can you go that fast in a space Vespa?
I mean, right, but I don't.
Although they can maneuver on those things pretty well. Like when he dodged like the falling debris, that can't remember his name, Sek, or that guy like totally dove, and I was like, oh, that was so nice. It reminded me of that one scene from not Back to the Future, but Fast and Furious. When that guy with the motorcycle and he goes into the truck, it was so good. Yeah. But I saw that cool. That I don't know. I think it's cool, but also too slow. And it was a similar speeder as in Solo, so like it had so many references, so we know that they can go fast. But then again, it's Mos Espa, so it's like a lot like more tightly packed, and obviously the streets aren't really meant for driving, especially at that speed. And that guy is not a good driver. He was hitting everything.
And you also saw a similar speeder bike chase in the first episode, which is technically like the first like the actual movie of Star Wars Rebels, which is like the first 2 episodes of Star Wars Rebels, where Ezra steals the shipment from Kanan and the rebel cell, and they end up like having that chase outside of the city or whatever. I compare it to that because of that speed they were going would have been perfect in my opinion. I think if they were going that speed, but since Mos Espa is, you know, kind of more tight on space, I can see why I went slow, but at the same time, I'm just like,
it was a very slapstick, fun, trying to be funny slapstick scene, and it's especially with them running into the painting.
Yes, and that's where Max Rebo shows up, because if that's actual concept art from Ralph McQuarrie. And it's like Jabba, Bib Fortuna. It is like the classic.
It's got Boba in the back, yeah.
It's got Boba back, and it's got, you know, Max Rebo in there. Technically, Max Rebo has been in all 3 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett so far. But I'm sorry, I had to bring that up. But I think it was great. I think the chase could have been done better, but near the end of where like his car like hit all those stands and everything, I was like, that was cool. Like, and then at that point, you know, he tries to start like his land speeder. He's like, all right, I give it up. He's gone. And then I was like, oh, so and then we find out like it's the Pikes and the Pikes have landed.
And then we get a shot of the Starliner, which I'm sure Sam was pretty proud of, because this is really good for you and good for Sam, because he really loves Rex, and he's gotten 3 references to Rex in this show, and you've gotten 4 references to your boy over there. So you guys must be super happy about this show so far, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of elements. There was a lot of, and again, you know, that's another reference to Star Tours and Galaxy's Edge. Like, it's like, I really think Hondo is going to show up because of it's just all these like, you know, slight Easter eggs. But I think the show is going to be, I think this I'm glad it wasn't a filler, because it didn't it did add to the plot, but I think it wasn't as good as the first and second episode, because it's trying to fill the plot more. So when it gets to the other episodes, you know, it's like, boom, it's there. Like, it's established, like, this is what's happening. And then it's more intense, because of as great as it was seeing Black Chrysanthemum, you know, just go, you know, crazy on Boba and the whole, you know, gang and everything there. I think it was missing something.
Yeah, I feel like we could have gotten a lot more.
Chase was missing something too.
Do you think that, like, with the length of this episode, because it's the shortest so far, do you think that if we had a longer episode, we could have gotten a lot more from it? Because I feel like a lot of it was pretty fast, but I don't know how we could have done it differently. Because I mean, the Hutts like show up like straight after Chris Ed's like already captured, and then they're like, oh yeah, we're leaving, goodbye. Like, it's like, I thought we were setting up this whole thing with the Hutts to begin with, but now we're not, but maybe we are. And then like, all right, now you have a Rancor now. And then now you got to go back to the mayor's office. And it's like, everything seemed pretty fast. And I know it's because 30-minute episode, but yeah, this is like the middle ground episode where they're like, all right, something really big's coming later. Like, this is setting it up, like you were saying.
Right. And I will compare this to the show WandaVision, because if it ends up being like WandaVision, where it set up all of those, like, because of no joke, it did set up the whole multiverse thing with, like, you know, from Quicksilver from the X-Men, and it definitely, you know, did set up for Mr. Fantastic showing up, and you know all the stuff, and then it ended up being like nothing. Like,
that's what
like, yeah. So I trust Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau with like my heart, because of they have not strayed us like away, like they have not failed us yet. And I think my biggest thing is if we don't get a classic bounty hunter besides Boba Fett, like I'm talking about like Bosco Dengar or someone, then I will be disappointed.
I can be good with Embo
like
now.
That
now that you mentioned it, I can get behind Embo.
Yeah.
If
Like,
it was just the Pikes, would you be okay with it just being the Pikes as the main?
No. I
because we have
think
so
they're
many fan
answering
theories
more
with
to- yeah. I know.
Kira and everyone wants Crimson Dawn, and I'm kind of wondering like what happens if it is just the Pikes, because we've seen them everywhere, and as you were saying, like, I just what happens if it's just this?
But that also doesn't really make sense to me that it would be just the Pikes, because we have two different crime families, the dinos of the Hutt family, or what had become of them, and we already have the Pikes, so there's two of them right there, and we already know from what we saw in Solo that they work together quite frequently, even though they're all ruled over by one entity, or at least were before he got sliced up by our boy Obi. I think that if we were to see just the Pikes show up, it would be a mistake, and the idea that the Crimson Dawn wouldn't show up, that doesn't make logical sense to me as to why they wouldn't be seen at some point, or at least referenced, or like talked about, or set up for a season 2 where Crimson Dawn comes in. I don't see it just being a Pike situation.
No, I also, and you can also look at the history of the Pikes as well, because especially in the Clone Wars, and in the comics and books as well, is that the Pikes are, they are these, is a species, like this proud species, that's all about spice and deals and stuff. But pretty much always, they're always answering. They're always answering to someone, like
that's true.
Like because of Count Dooku made them promise not to, drop that secret, and they were like, well, we actually have this leverage, and then all that 10-year gap from Attack of the Clones and Return of the Jedi, then you find out, like, the whole thing with Master Sacridius and his his friend or something, like, I should know that, but then you find out that they kept that secret because of Count Dooku, but then they were like, well, we actually had insurance, and so it just sounds like they're always answering to someone, so it would make sense that they would still be part of the Crimson Dawn.
But do you think it'd be a Crimson Dawn mic drop kind of thing, like with our end of episode 1, end of the season 1 for Mandalorian, where Darksaber, like we get to see that, it's amazing, and then we have
hoping not. I'm hoping not.
So like you want like a season 2 like Luke kind of situation where she like comes off the ship.
Because of every time that I see, like, I think of that, like of where it would be like a mic drop. It's just like, okay, well, when's it gonna happen? Because if we like saw at the end of Solo where like Darth Maul did the mic drop, and it was like, okay, great, and then we just we don't see that like whole thing. We still don't know what happened with him and him and Kira like leading
to this day.
Like like we don't know, and I'm just like, I want as great.
I still blame the bad marketing of Solo. Still blame them. That's the reason why they picked up on it.
I want Crimson Dawn to actually play a decent role. Like if it ends up being where Moff Gideon's, how Moff Gideon made an appearance in episode 7 of season 1 of Mandalorian, and then he played he was there the entire episode in the final episode of the season finale. If they do something like that, then I'm fine.
Like a 2-episode kind of like
just
these are these people. This is what they do. Doesn't need a conclusion here. Do you think?
No.
So you would like more Boba Fett? Like, if this whole season ends, do you want an extension of the Boba Fett series, or would you like it to kind of like start fusing into more Mandalorian stuff? Because we've had the Mandalorian, now we have Boba Fett. Do you need a season 2 or like a book 2 of Boba Fett? Do you feel like right now?
I think maybe they could continue his story, and no offense to everyone who loves Book of Boba Fett, but I think they could continue his story in Mandalorian season 3, because as of right now, Book of Boba Fett's not getting as much praise as Mandalorian did, and it's because of they are dealing with a character that is beloved because of his mystery, and it's just how Darth Vader was when they didn't do the prequels. There was so much mystery behind his character, and it's the same thing with Boba Fett, and people have thought of Boba Fett as this character over he says no and stuff like that. And no joke, when I saw him at the end of that fight and he came down and he was wearing his bathrobe,
wearing the robes.
Yeah. I
was tired.
I know. Well, no, I was like, why don't you have a weapon? Where's your armor, man? Like, he could still be fighting people, and you just come down and it's like, is everything okay? I'm just like, dude, like, what's like? I like know that you're an older guy, but like, you are still that. Like I and I get him going through a life-changing experience. Like, I totally get it. But for fans who love this character, have high expectations because of I know a lot of people in the mercs and like in the Mandalorian mercs and people who do Boba Fett, they have high expectations for this characters, and there's a lot of people that are really disappointed with how they're treating Boba Fett because it's not how he was in the movie where because of the way that Boba was portrayed in Empire and Return of the Jedi was he doesn't take no for an answer. Like, it's his way or the highway. Like he will shoot you down, he will use his flamethrower and stuff, and then this is just like he's a changed man because of his experience in the Sarlacc and almost dying, and then him being rescued by the Tuskens. So I understand like why the character is the way he is, but I also understand why some fans are not as like they're not praising this as as much as they are as the Mandalorian, because what was great about Mando is that he was not an established character. He was a whole new character, so he didn't have a background. So no one had high expectations like they did for Boba, because of Boba already made his mark on Star Wars, and Mando didn't. So it's kind of like with The Last Jedi, that like they ended up going off the blueprint with it, and it wasn't as great as as it could have been because of Rian Johnson, just was like, nope, I'm going to scrap the whole blueprint. I'm going to do my own thing.
Like, we know this is like a mafia style story. And
yes,
like Jabba never had any super like combat abilities. It's the people around him. And I feel like that's his kind of thing. He's trying to be, it's so different from the character that we all have. We have the EU. We have even the old fans that didn't have any EU at that time still thought he was like an amazing like character and so much cool mystery about him. And we want to see that because we went crazy in Mando season 2.
No, oh man, no. Like I loved like of him just fighting everyone in that episode where like he comes and he takes up the cloaks and he's like he
breaking the helmets. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, like
we haven't received any of that yet.
Yeah, dude, him and that gaffy stick, bro. Like he just went ham, and the whole entrance when he does put on his armor again and he shoots the missiles and he's like, I was aiming for the other.
I was aiming for the other one.
It's like yeah. I was like, nice, man.
This is what we like. We're like, yes, this is Boba Fett. This is what we wanted to see. Very cool. We haven't gotten it yet in the actual show, and I think that's kind of our disconnect right now. I mean, that is a good
statement, Josh. Yeah, no,
I think I'm on the same page as you guys. I don't understand because when we saw him Mandalorian, in terms of the timeline, this is before Book of Boba Fett, so he has the physical capability to be kicking butt. And not much has happened to him physically since those events in season 2 to where we're at now in season 1 of Book of Boba Fett. So it doesn't, I don't understand why. And I'm hoping that they pick up and start speeding up this plot and start giving us more of the Boba Fett that we want instead of the Boba Fett that they're trying to make. And I think I'm on the same page as you guys that he was a BA in season 2 of Mandalorian. That's what everyone wants to see. And that this isn't receiving as much traction or attention because of the fact that this is a character that already exists and it's not being given the love and credit that that character's deserving of so far. And we're hoping that in the forthcoming episodes that remain in the season that we will see more of Boba Fett's BA attitude and less of him, in a robe outside of his back to tank getting his butt kicked. I mean, I get it. It's Chrysanthemum, honestly, but he didn't. I think there was way more that he could have given. And obviously he very much relied on his security detail, which, in my opinion, kind of low-key let him down because honestly, how could Chrysanthemum get in there without anyone noticing other than if someone were to be helping him and he snuck in some other way?
Yeah.
Also, how has he not hired more security? Why are there 2 Gamorrean guards and a bunch of teenagers that are the only defense against Chrysanthemum? I don't know.
And I think that is why, probably the next episode, like, and not the flashbacks, but of like the present day stuff. I think he's gonna bring like those other, crime
there better be an
families,
entourage
like,
show up here.
And then be like, team up, and then he has more people. Because I think by the end of the show, like I can just picture in my head, like in season 3 of Mandalorian, he needs, help from Boba Fett or whatever, and he goes there. And then Jabba's palace looks like Jabba's palace, right? So he's got
people in it. No one could have ever snuck up on him had he had a chamber full of people.
Right.
Never could have happened.
And I think that is what it's going to be like, because of, I think by the end of this, I think Boba will be Boba again. I think he's like, he like hasn't snapped enough yet, but I think like something is going to make him snap. And we'll see what we saw in Mandalorian, where he was just this vicious fighter, just taking down stormtroopers. I think we're going to see that by the end of this. Something's going to make him snap. Maybe Fennec betraying him. Maybe something from his past, coming up. I think we will definitely see the Boba that we know, that the audience knows by the end of the show. And if not, I'll be very surprised. But I believe in Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. Like, they have done such a great job so far.
Do you think that that Boba Fett will succeed in his mission to be a Dino that is respected, or do you think that he will resort back to the traditional form of more of a fearful hunting? No, not bounty hunting, but he will I think he'll continue, and he won't lose his mantle unless he dies, and they're not going to just kill him. So I think that at the end of the season, he's either going to die, or he's going to be a successful ruler over most. Those are the only 2 logical outcomes for the situation that he's in. Yeah. But do you think that he will achieve?
Do you think he's going to bring like respect and peace?
Do you think he's going to succeed in his mission to be a respected Dino rather than a feared one?
Because the way he's doing things is very fair and equal to everyone, and it just feels like a disconnect from what like we know, especially of Tatooine. That is completely different.
No, that is like a whole different vibe, and it's just like everything. Like, some things I was like, this doesn't feel like Tatooine. Especially the kids, like, of the gang. Like, I was like, these kids, I feel like they belong in Coruscant. Like,
you're trying to be he's like a warden, and he's trying to get respect from his inmates. I don't,
and like all this is because of like I was talking about, being in the Sarlacc, changed his perspective on life, and it's kind of like a lesson, in general. Like, I talked about this in the episode, but I was in a car accident. I flipped my car. I almost died, and I totally had a different perspective on life, and I started doing things differently. And that's exactly what Bo was going through. Like, he was like, man, I almost died, and you know what? All the things that I did in my life led me to this moment. I'm going to change who I am. And the Tuskens helped him with that. And then the Tuskens all got killed, except maybe the female one.
Do you have to be a ruthless killer to be respected on this?
I don't know. That's not what I think. What I'm trying to get at. I think that, do you have to be a fearful leader in order to successfully fulfill the role of a Dino? I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do you have to be a fearful person to be that successful in where you are? Because remember, you're on Tatooine, and it's not like most other systems are. It is populated by a majority of people who are fleeing the law, who do not respect the law, do not respect authority. So how can you get all of those people to round up behind you and support you in making the planet better? Because that's what he's ultimately trying to do, is make Mos Espa a more city that can be more beneficial to people, rather than a place for them to hide out from the law. Or,
I am just thinking of if Han and Chewie and them show up, I'm thinking of what like Han's reaction to of Boba's reaction to Han, like of seeing him, if maybe
that he's gonna straight pull his blaster,
of being like, a blind man put me in that pit. Oh, you going down? Like, I Like I'm curious of like what if that happens, which most likely it will. There's like it's oh my gosh,
Sebastian
because of
Stan?
yeah. Well, I don't think that.
No,
but,
I know. I just really want this. So I gotta do what
because
you do.
of-
I gotta
yeah.
speak it into reality like you do with
with Max
with your
Rebo,
big
yeah.
blue fella. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I
I'm
speak it into
yeah.
existence, it'll happen.
I am honestly satisfied. Like I'm just like,
Can
know
you
what?
say it? Because you make it happen. Like Ray
Okay.
said last week. Just say it.
Yeah. So Chewie and
You're not
Han,
gonna say it? That's
what?
Sebastian Stan will come back as Luke.
I don't
Or
want
not.
that though.
You don't want that?
I don't want no.
Why?
What are you talking about? You supported this
How
a
is
while
that-
ago. Why do you all of a sudden don't want to talk about it?
Because of I don't like people being casted as as well-known characters that have already been established. Because if they do bring him in, then they might do some deep fake stuff, and that's fine because of he does have similar structures. But now they hired that guy from YouTube who did that deep fake. Like they're like of the de-aging process and everything is going to look so much better than what we got from
I love the
Luke
guy from,
Skywalker
like,
in that
YouTube,
last
like-
episode. It's going to look so good, and it's going to blow people away because of if Han shows up and we see that, people are going to like that.
Yeah,
will also
lose their
bring people
minds.
in. Yeah, like everyone will lose their minds if because of that's something that we wanted too was of having like the trio, right? And and the sequels was seeing Han, Leia, and Luke together, like not just in the same movie in separate scenes, but together.
I just
That's
don't
what
want
people
that to be played out though, because we've already done Luke.
Yeah, this is Book of Boba Fett. This isn't bring back the original trilogy, but I would love to see them involved in.
I think
some
Han.
capacity.
I'm serious. I think Han and Chewie will make a cameo. There would be no reason to hire that guy who does deep fakes if they weren't planning on doing doing something like
with the
like in that department. Yeah, so it would make sense that they are bringing that like him in and probably showing Luke up soon. Like Luke will probably show up in Ahsoka probably, but like Han, that would be a big deal because of Harrison Ford is such a big deal and Han Solo is such a beloved character of Star Wars. That would be like chess king checkmate, like boom, like done. Like it's just like that honestly would bring so many people in because of that's what also brought some people in for the Mandalorian. Because the people like, wait, Luke shows up. All right, I'm gonna watch this, and then like people got into it.
They have to wait till the very last episode to see him. They're like, wait a minute.
Well, I mean, but still, of Luke showing up, the whole entrance was like everything, and the way that it was, the animation at first, it took me a while to get used to it, but every time I watch it, I get goosebumps because it's like, it's Luke, and he's interacting with all these characters. Imagine like. Boba being on the street during the fight, and then Han and Chewie come up, and then Chewie fights Black Chrysanthemum. That's what I want to see. That is one of my predictions. Is because of they have fought. Yeah, they have fought in the comics and stuff, and Chewie lost against him. So that's why the motive would be like, hey, Chewie knows where he is. He wants a rematch, and they fight. Like I'm just seeing because Black Chrysanthemum was so bad. He got banished from Kashyyyk, and then he became a gladiator and stuff. So I was like, dude, Chewie, which we know is this like, he's Chewie, like he's established as this as this great Wookiee fighter, but Black Chrysanthemum is a gladiator, like he is a beast, man. Like I want to see them fight and like just like
he's
get thrown into walls and like. Oh man, dude.
He's like the ultimate physical attribute of what a Kashyyykian Wookiee could become. Yeah, he just like embodies it, and I don't know because he's also he's a gladiator, but he also has he may be coming back for the fact that Boba Fett showed him this obscenely respectful gesture that came way out of left field, and even he was like surprised. He's like, "Wait, you're not going to kill me," and I don't think that's the last we're going to see of him. And Boba Fett knows that too. He was like, I'm not going to make an enemy with someone like that because I would rather have him as an ally. And like he said, it's just business. And if Boba Fett truly has that mindset and is just business, Chrysanthemum will come back. And he might even come back and be in the support of Boba Fett. I don't know.
But
Chrysanthemum,
dude. Han, Chewie, oh man.
I could see him coming back. I could also see the Tusken Raider girl coming back to helping him.
Yeah,
But yeah,
like Boba, Fennec, Chrysanthemum, and that Tusken Raider. Like I think that that those 4 people right there just gets me excited to see to see all 4 of those on the screen at the same time.
Oh yeah.
Get out of the way. You're gonna die or you're gonna get out of the way. Those are the your options.
I'm thinking like there will just be like a big battle in Mos Espa. Like I don't think it's gonna be small. I think everything right here, like of what we've seen so far and leading up to the finale, I think it's gonna be like a big battle, and we are just gonna be blown away by it because of Boba riding
on a
Rancor. Yeah,
dude.
and just blaster fire going on. It's gonna be like
I can already see the pop vinyl.
Dude, oh my gosh.
That'd be a good poster. I'd get that poster.
Yeah.
All right, so episode 4 predictions. Colin, go.
I think he will talk with the crime families of the scene that we saw in like the trailer of where they're all at the table, and one of the guys, I think one of the Trandoshans is like, why don't we just kill you right now? I think we'll see. I think we'll see the
off planet scenes. I mean, because we haven't left Tatooine yet this season.
Technically, we have because of the Camino stuff.
Well, those are flashbacks. I'm talking about like in the current plot line.
I don't think we will because of. I think it's like mainly focusing on Tatooine, and I think that's what they want. And
so you think that the crime families will come to Tatooine?
Oh yeah. Okay. If we Tatooine, I'm very surprised. If we now one planet I think I could see happening is maybe Nal Hutta or Nal Hutta, Dathomir. I don't know why, I just got a feeling maybe Dathomir or Coruscant. Like of those are the planets. If they went somewhere, I think that's where it would be. I think Coruscant would be like a big because of I could see like maybe scene of where Boba is trying to gather forces, and then you like go to Coruscant and it goes into like the underworld and stuff, and then you see like maybe Bosk like is in like in a cantina or something, and he gets like a hologram call, and Bosk is like, I owe you a favor, I'm on my way, and it'll be like, oh, like I could see something like that. I don't know if that's gonna happen this episode, but I could totally see like something happening, and I don't think we'll see. My prediction is that we will see at least one of the classic bounty hunters or some other bounty hunters, either in episode 5. Wait, is it 7 episodes or 8 episodes?
It's 8.
It's 8. Is it 8?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So either it will be. Are you sure? Because I think it's 7.
Well, now you got me thinking. So why don't you just keep talking while I look it up?
Anyway, I think it would be the last 3 episodes that we will see, like people that we know, of the class. But I like Chewie and like because of I definitely see like Black Satan some ass like full out more than what we saw episode
7. You're right. 7 episodes.
Yeah, 7. Oh, so I'm thinking that we'll probably see him by 5. 7. I'm hoping him sooner than later because of that's what everyone wants is of seeing Boba and Dengar and those bounty hunters fighting side by side. And my fan casting for Dengar would be Simon Pegg. I think Simon Pegg would be a great Dengar. He also voiced him in the first Star Wars Battlefront that EA did. So I was like, bro, I could definitely see like Simon Pegg like of being thing. And actually, I think he has been working out. I think he's been doing stuff for Impossible, but there's a chance he might have been doing that because of the Book of Boba Fett. So I could definitely see him doing that. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot that is going to happen, and I think, and I think that we are definitely going to see Crimson Dawn coming up. But for next week's episode, I think it's still going to build up the plot. I think we'll see more of the Pikes. I think we'll see more flashback scene that I was talking about, where like we actually see Boba see like his perspective of the whole like Fennec Shan getting shot, and then he saves her and everything. I think we'll see that. But other than that, Well, and Max Rebo, of course, somehow Max Rebo's gonna make a cameo. But other than that,
Josh, do you have anything that you would like to add? Because I'm pretty on par with what Colin has to say. I just want to make sure you have anything to add to it.
I mean, with our 3-act structure, because this is third episode, we've had a beginning and middle and an end, but that's just for his flashback segments. So it's only been like we've had the beginning of him out of Sarlacc, Tuskens, and then the Tuskens being killed, and that's and then he was ripped out in back into reality. So
literally,
I think we're gonna get another so then the new act starts, and then they'll have the 7th episode is going to be that like the last big finale episode where everything comes together, and we're going to tie both of those stories together. That's
so
what
like
I
episodes
think
4 and 5 is arc 2, and then
but that's going to take it's going to be much more about like what's going on around that we don't know yet. So I think it's going to involve a lot to do with the Pikes. I think it's going to morally talk about things that are out of Boba Fett's control right now, instead of just like, because a lot of this is still a mystery to us. Like we don't know much about like to do with the mayor. We don't know much to do about like with the Pikes and what their business is. And I feel like this episode is going to start being like, because I mean, at the end of this episode, he's like, there's a war, like it's a war that's coming. So it's interesting to see what they're trying to suit up with.
I can't wait, man. I really can't wait. I think for the last episode, I think we should definitely do like a live stream of like our reaction because of we did that for the last episode of The Mandalorian, and of when Luke showed up, I screenshotted it because of all of the reactions were just like, oh my god. And that was happening like at 3 a.m. So it was like the funniest thing. But yeah, no, dude, I'm excited for the future. I'm excited that we are getting back into that fate, because it's like, hey, it's the book of Boba Fett, and then we're done for the year, like how we did with The Mandalorian. It's like we are getting a lot of projects this year. We are getting Kenobi. We are getting Endor. We are possibly getting the beginning of Mandalorian season 3. We are getting season 2 of Bad Batch. We are getting, the new Star Wars Lego game, possibly Jedi Fallen Order 2. And then we're getting Star Celebration. There's still projects that haven't been announced yet. Like there is so much happening this year in Star Wars. And it's so exciting because we kind of had a break last year where it was just like the Bad Batch. And it was like, oh, okay. But this year is like so much going on. And
yeah, I think I agree with you on that there's a lot more in the future of Star Wars. So yeah, on board with that too.
Yeah. But diving into some other news besides our predictions and our breakdown of the episode, which this was brought to my attention recently by Josh, and when we watched it and we thought it was interesting. Apparently there was I'm like quotations, there was a leaked trailer of something called the Knights of Ren, and it looks like it takes place on Mustafar or something like that, like in the trailer. And no joke, it's an X-wing and a TIE fighter, and then there is a Sith that pops out of it that looks like a ring wraith from Lord of the Rings, and jumps on the X-wing, chops one of the wings, and crashes down, and then he stands in the X-wing and turns on 2 lightsabers, and then it says the Knights of Ren. And from I guess from reliable sources, it's real, but it doesn't look real. And if it is, I want you to explain to me why you just copy and pasted a ring wraith. Like that's my thing, because of no joke.
Because from what I see, like I still see some things that I'm looking at. I'm like, that could be unfinished. This could just be like a little kind of demo reel that you give to. It's like, hey, look, this is what we can produce. Like this is what we have been working on for the because I'm sure there's hundreds of different TV shows and scripts, and then they make like one trailer and they're like, boom, this is like, do you want us to keep continuing it?
It's kind of like the pilot, but
it's like like even less than that. Yeah. That's what I think it could be. I don't think it's like a full-fledged like in production thing if it is real, because even the effects on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no. Like I mean, it is crappy quality because the person made it look like, hey, it was on a screen and then it was kind of in the background with his phone or camera or whatever. But from the animation of it, especially with the lava and the planet and everything, it looked good. But then when the TIE fighter next one came, kind of but that would be interesting because they also had ties to Crimson Dawn as well, of the Knights of Ren. So again, another reference to Crimson Dawn. But Do you guys think that is real? Do you want to see that? Do you think it's necessary? Or are you
I
just
think
like,
that it's a completely random like storyline that no one thought of or asked for.
Yeah.
Well, I don't not necessarily ask for, because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that after seeing Rise of Skywalker and seeing the Knights of Ren, they're like, "What's that? I want to see what that is." And I could see how there could be a market for making that kind of a television or like a series of some sort, or even just like a short, like 40-minute, kind of like, like the Clone Wars did with that one little small movie at the beginning, like something like that. But again, I don't know where this is coming from. I don't know if it's real. It is very low quality, and it is filmed very ominously, like it's not supposed to be filmed, which gives me the incentive that maybe there is a little bit
There's
of
a
validity behind
possibility.
it, because it looks like someone's recording it, but they're not supposed to be. So
well,
there are so many questions that
so
are around this that I can't answer.
Well, some people have definitely have done that trick because of, I remember when Age of Ultron came out, like back in 2015, and there was a leaked ending of it, and it showed some of the actual ending, but then somebody did like a green screen thing or whatever, and they made it look like Spider-Man was showing up in it, and everyone was flipping out.
Even with the newest Spider-Man, like we had the same kind of thing where it was just like this whole trailer, and then it looked like it was kind of filmed. So in my opinion, I want it to be real. For me, I want to see new things from Star Wars personally. Like I want to see something that's so removed from anything that's related.
Which is why I'm so interested in like the High Republic era. Like I want more of that. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of like over this whole what we've already known.
And something else as well is that the Empire, like of what's left of it in the First Order, nothing has showed up yet in the Book of Boba Fett, which is actually kind of cool in my opinion.
So you're saying like Pikes could be working with Thrawn?
Oh no! I'm just saying, like, because of, if you watch The Mandalorian, and all the like the movies and everything, the Empire, the First Order had like a strong presence, right? But then you go to the Book of Boba Fett, and there's like no presence of like
it is Tatooine
of the Empire. Or well, yes, it is.
We
Tatooine.
Still did see. It's because they had that like stronghold.
But the only reason when we saw A New Hope, the only reason that there was Stormtrooper presence on Tatooine at that present moment is because they were physically looking for droids. Those two droids. They don't have any outposts on Tatooine.
I will say there is that weird Stormtrooper scene in the Sarlacc where no joke, the armor looked clean besides the acid burns on. Because I was just
I had no idea why he was there.
Yeah, I was like, why on earth was and it wasn't a Sandy, it wasn't a Sand Trooper, it was just a full out like normal Stormtrooper, like a normal TK in the Sarlacc, and it did not look like it was there for a couple of years. It looked like it's been there for a while. So I
mean, he obviously still had an oxygen supply that was intact,
right?
So he couldn't have been there for
what happened. How did he get in there? Where is the Disney Plus series for Gary the Stormtrooper? Like, I need to know. But honestly, I think that when we we haven't seen like any of that. I mean, we saw the Stormtrooper helmets on the pipe, like on their like spikes, but I don't think that we would see the Empire or First Order or anything. And I think it's going to be the first show like afterwards where it doesn't focus on that. Because in the American, the Empire, and technically at that time, the Empire is still lingering. But it's surprising we haven't seen, some type of, leftover squad of it, stormtroopers and stuff like, in a like hiding or come out, because of Empire formed into the First Order, and by the end of this whole climax of the Mandalorian verse is what I'm going to call it, because of the Mandalorian and Ahsoka and what Rangers of the New Republic was supposed to be, but then I guess the show got canceled, and then there's the rumored, and then there's something which I'll just talk about now, which there's the rumored series that's going to be based on Bo-Katan, and that she will get her own series on Disney Plus, which is more Mandalorian stuff, which is fine. But now we got 3 characters that are based off of that armor, and I just don't want
So they're
the
all
future of
coming
Star Wars.
together to
Right.
take back Mandalore.
Right, and then there's gonna be a big battle with like Thrawn and all that stuff, and we'll see Ahsoka, and there's a chance that that we might see some of the. I mean, because for me it would be like if there's a big battle like that, no way that the New Republic is not gonna be involved in that because of they want peace
Rex.
and stuff. So I could, I could definitely see like, well, there's no way Rex is not gonna be like Rex. Like, there's no way that Rex would not be in, that Rex would not be in the Ahsoka series. Like there's no way. Like Rex has to show up. And then going to another thing that I was going to talk about is that Tamara Morrison has also said in a recent statement that he wants to play Commander Cody and Captain Rex. And I think that's a formality of him being like, winking at the audience and being like, oh yeah, I am. But, I really want to play them because of that's exactly what McGregor was saying when people kept asking him, hey, are you planning on playing Obi-Wan? He's like, well, I want to, but now it looks like I'm knocking on Disney's door, when in reality he signed a contract years ago that
he's like, I've been under their wing for a while already.
So I guarantee that we will see live action Rex and some of these other clones, because of it's just
easy money for Tamora, because like when I don't even know if he realizes when he signed on to be a clone in like the original Clone Wars, but he gave himself work for decades just by doing that.
Oh yeah. So
of the Republic.
And now it's gonna be cool to go back and watch like Attack of the Clones and see like Jango, and then watch it all the way through, and then they go to the Book of Boba Fett, because it's like, oh yeah, separate people but same people. So
it's weird, but awesome.
But yeah, there is gonna be a big battle. Like all of this is leading up to them taking back Mandalore, and it's going to be so cool to see that live action, and it's going to be so cool to see all of these characters show up, and then it will be kind of like it will be like Game of Thrones, where it's going to be like one of the main characters of these shows will probably die. Like I could see Boba like dying in that battle, like trying to take back Mandalore,
then Amelia Clark just burns everything to the ground.
That will I don't know why, but I'm hoping that happens in the season finale, or like in the show of where like she comes in with Crimson Dawn and just tries to create chaos. Like
for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Well, yeah.
Well, I think that just about wraps it up. This is I think we're running out of time here.
Running out of time. It's Star Wars stuff. There's always stuff to talk about. Come on.
By running out of time, I think we're losing the attention of our viewers and listeners. So is there anything else you guys are going to talk about? You guys have anything else you want to mention?
No.
Like,
excited to see episode 4. Definitely.
For sure.
That's
for David, I will shout out to the Nerf EE3 blaster that just was released and announced, or not a release but announced. So I think that's pretty cool. That's another little bit of toy news going on in the Star Wars world. That's all I can think of. That's pretty much it.
Don't forget about our bingo card that we're doing as well.
Right. If you haven't figured that out, you can go find that on our social media.
On
Star Wars
Instagram,
Podcast.
We are doing a bingo card where if you're the first person to have a bingo for guessing, like our theories of what would happen in the show, and by the end of it, if you get a bingo, message us and you will get our secret mystery prize. And I'm telling you, it's a good one. It may or may not be a helmet. So go and do the card.
It's not a helmet, guys. It's not. I promise.
I mean, I did hint at that in post. But if you guys don't, please go follow us on our Instagram, on our Twitter, on our TikTok, Facebook, Patreon.
Yeah, guys, we have tons of giveaways, and the only way you can participate in them is through our social media. So if you want free stuff from us sometimes.
And we also have an email. Like we love your like messages and fan mail. Like, yeah, I got fan mail. It was really weird, but we love hearing from you guys. And if you have a chance, go and give us your review. Like, honestly, we would not be doing this if it wasn't for you guys. So we love you all. And to find everything, we also have a website as well, which is called stuffpodcast.network. It's really, really sick. It's got our bios. It's got all of our links
it's
to
Star Wars.
everything.
It's Stuff Network, Stuff Podcast Network, not just dot network. There's no dot in there. So
.com. All right, whatever. Anyway,
he said .com.
yeah.
All right.
Well, anyways,
that's about does it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so from myself, Matt,
and Josh.
Oh yes.
Thank you so much for joining us this week. It was
No problem.
a pleasure.
Thank
having
you.
on
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it.
We'll be
we'll
sure to
all
have
talk
you
to you
again.
soon.
Awesome.
May the force be with you.
Always.
Pew pew.
Oh. What the French? We're still live. Yeah.